Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. And yes, I still think they're the greatest team in the NFL. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and we have to talk about some things going on with player free agency and things we got to look forward to for next season. So let's jump into this video. But beforehand, yes, I know the lights are off back there. We're having some lighting issues. Don't worry, we'll get those fixed. But also, if you haven't already, please feel free to go down and hit subscribe. If you do that and you hit the bell, you will be updated on all the videos we post on this channel Monday through Friday. We update you guys on all things going on in the Lions world and surrounding the Lions world. So if you're a Lions fan or just a football fan looking to stay informed, please consider going down and hitting subscribe. With that being said, though, let's jump into this video. Starting off with guys we do need to think about re-signing now rather than later just because of how they can get sniped. The Detroit Lions are entering the offseason with 49 players under contract, having retained 36 from 2025, re-signed 3 exclusive rights free agents, 9 players from their own practice squad, and signed a practice squatter from outside the organization. So, however, most fans will be paying close attention to how the Lions are going to retain some of these free agents going on into this next season, which include 25 unrestricted free agents, 3 restricted free agents, and 1 remaining ERFA. So, looking at the roster right now, under Brad Holmes, there has been a pattern that has started to emerge over the last 4 years. In 2022, we re-signed 16 of the guys. In 2023, we did 11 of 21. In 2024, 13 of 26. And in 2025, 14 of their 28. If this pattern holds, expectations are that the Lions will re-sign around half of the pending UFAs and RFAs. So, with that being said, now that we know there's a pattern going on, what are some guys that most fans are looking to retain next season? I think the big one that some people may disagree with, because I know there are still people who want a star name, a guy out of the draft or something like that. I think Al-Qadim Muhammad has more than deserved his re-signing here. Muhammad is coming off of a career season, registering 11 sacks, 59 pressures, and despite only seeing the field on 40% of the defensive snaps, when he had the third lowest snap count of his 8-year NFL career, he still managed to put up all these numbers, sack-wise, pressure-wise, hit-wise. And when the Lions when we had a super healthy defensive line, Muhammad was primarily used as the pass rusher. With him turning 31 years old this offseason as well, that would likely be his role going into next season. Still, though, he lands at the top of the rankings, in my opinion, because of how valuable his production to our defense has been this season and how it could continue to grow next season. He's the next closest pass rusher. The next closest pass rushers we have next to Al-Qadim Muhammad are Jack Campbell, actually, with 5 sacks, and then the next one after that is Derek Barnes, who only had 24 pressures. So when you think about getting rid of someone like Al-Qadim Muhammad, making space for, I don't know, a draft guy or whatever you're thinking of, you have to remember you're getting rid of your second sack leader. You're getting rid of the guy who produces anything next to Hutch. So I think this guy has more than deserved what he does. I think we keep him instead of going to the draft and using one of our higher picks on a pass rusher. I think right now he's doing a great job, and I don't see why we can't continue to have him in this rotation / starting role he's been in. I think we retain him, put him on another year to prove it deal, just because, hey, maybe last year was a fluke. We see what he does this year. We give him some money to thank him for what he did. But now we got to talk about Roy Lopez, a guy who I've mentioned a lot on this channel and who I think has deserved it more than others. Another very solid offseason free agent signing. Lopez was off to a slow start with us at the beginning of the season, but once he ended up settling in, he was very, very steady at the quote-unquote defensive tackle 3 position and as a rotational contributor, coming off of was arguably his best season as a professional. His pass rush was great. His ability to get into the backfield was fantastic. Overall, I think he was a key contributor this season in a spot where it seems like we didn't have too many key contributors. Roy Lopez really did effort his way into this roster, and I think he really does deserve to get another chance. And lastly, Malcolm Rodriguez. Now, he did deal with an ACL injury last year, and it was probably at the worst possible time it could have been, because not only did he miss training camp this season, the setback also delayed his return even longer into this year. But when he finally did get back on the field, he looked like a player that was still getting used to the surgery. Like, it wasn't like, oh, he's back and he's normal. A return to Detroit would help the Lions with our linebacker depth, considering the fact that we probably will be without Anzalone next season. And Rodriguez would get a chance to fill in that potential spot, hopefully after he gets back to 100% with some offseason time. But it's that will linebacker position is going to be very, very open, and I think we're going to have to start looking around our very big linebacker room for guys to fill that position. I think a 1-year prove it deal would make sense for both sides here. Give Rodriguez a chance to prove that the injury is no longer that big of a factor, and he can fill in for those roles we need him to going forward in the linebacker room. I think it would make sense. I think we give him one more chance. I think he's been a Lion. I think he's been a Dan Campbell guy. He's been a fan favorite. I think getting rid of him in a time where we need to start figuring out moving around guys in the linebacker room would be very unwise. And I feel like we do keep him on just to see what he can do with a new fresh season, some fresh legs, stuff like that. We'll see what happens there. You guys can let me know what you think about these guys or if there's anyone you'd prefer over them. And now another OC candidate. Of course, right? There's been a lot of these this week. According to multiple reports this week, though, New York Giants interim head coach Mike Kafka is scheduled to interview with us this week on Wednesday. Kafka is also set to interview a number of other teams, though, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as the NFC South squad made a sweeping coaching change, including at offensive coordinator. Now, Giants general manager Joe Schoen expressed Kafka would also earn an interview for the head coaching role at the New York Giants because of how he looked at the end of this season. He said, quote, or Kafka said, quote, "I am very proud of the work I did here. Obviously, from a results perspective, we need to get a few more wins, but I'm really proud of how our guys responded, really proud of our coaching staff, everyone working together towards a common goal and then finishing the season strong with 2 great wins," end quote. Yeah, honestly, the New York Giants, as much as people did crap on them this year for being just a bad team, being without Neighbors, being without Dart for parts of the season, right? Cam Scatterbo goes out. They honestly played to a high level. I mean, they still almost beat us. They took us to overtime, guys, with Jameis Winston getting a touchdown catch over Derek Barnes. Like, they weren't a terrible team this year by any means. They just got put in a very awkward position. Kafka indicated that the experience he gained working in New York would also properly prepare him to become a head coach, whether it was in New York or somewhere else. So it seems like his confidence level to be a serious level coach has not swayed ever since getting that position. Kafka was a 4th-round draft pick actually back in 2010. It bounced around to several practice squads like the Eagles, Pats, Jags, Buccaneers, Vikings, Titans, and Bengals. So he's been around the league. He knows what it's like. Now he's he's in that coaching saddle, and I think, honestly, I don't know if he's the greatest pick for us, but he's definitely not the worst pick for us. He's got a background in establishing the run game and creative play calling he's known for, so that means trick plays. Sounds like our kind of guy from a play calling standpoint. Just got to make sure that this experience he's claiming he has at this point is enough. Like, we don't want another John Morton situation where we get nervous and we start relying on screens and just the same motion play over and over again. I want to make sure that this guy comes in with the right experience, knowing what he's going to do, with a plan already ready to go. I just don't know if that's where he's at right now, but I still don't think he'd be a terrible pick either way. You guys can let me know what you think about him, but I'm going to probably go with somebody else in my opinion. And now, just some pass rushers I feel like we could grab. Now, again, this has been a lot of stuff to talk about, especially with the draft coming up, is we need to finally go use one of our picks on one of these elite pass rushers. Maybe one of the guys from Miami, right? I disagree. I don't think we need to be wasting one of our high picks right now when the O-line and our secondary seem to be the main areas of concern. And with how Al-Qadim Muhammad has played this year alongside Hutch, I really doubt we do need to use one of those high draft picks. I think there are some more rotation guys to fill that side of the defensive line for now. We don't need to be worrying about. I think there's 2 guys right now that really strike my eye as maybe we could get them on kind of a steal, especially with where our salary cap's looking. And they had very big upside seasons this year. So I think we're going to start with Joseph Osai from the Bengals. Now, going and trying to get guys from one of the worst, if not the worst defense in the league would be an extremely bold strategy. But I feel like Hendrickson's contract is going to demand way too much from us, and that's not going to be a possibility like it wasn't last year. So Osai could be the solid backup guy we do go to, right? Playing in the Bengals scheme as a down lineman, Osai racked up 43 total pressures, 5 sacks, and 11.4% pressure rate on 375 pass rushing snaps last season. Per Pro Football Focus, he also registered 43 total tackles and 9 tackles for loss, and could be a solid, if not spectacular, signing entering his age 26 season. The only issue now here is the fact that, oh, okay, 6.5 sacks, that's cool. We maybe get him on one of those nice, friendly, team-friendly one-year deals. Well, that's where it gets a little complicated. Sportrack is actually estimating he could command a $15.1 million annual deal on the open market right now. So there could be multiple teams that go up and get him and outbid us straight out. Could also get him on a one-year prove-it deal since he was on the Bengals last year, and it's hard to say whether or not he was going to be consistently doing this on a team with other proven guys, but I don't know. He seems solid. He seems like one of those guys where his potential is only going up right now, and it'd be a great time to grab him. I just don't know if I want to grab him for 15.1. We're going to have to see what the front office does, but I feel like this could be another rotation guy to help Hutch out instead of wasting one of our big picks on it. And then secondly, call me crazy, but I think Joey Bosa would look really good in the Lions uniform. Currently playing on the Bills, it would be difficult to achieve given that the Lions' salary cap situation and the several key players we have coming up for contract, like Gibbs, Campbell, Laporta, could really mess up any kind of big signing with guys like Joey Bosa. But if there was urgency needed, it could leave us with Joey Bosa. Bosa hasn't been a game wrecker this year like he was early in his career, but when he logged 10 or more sacks in 4 of his first 6 seasons, he would have been extremely effective. But he's still been effective for the Bills regardless. In addition to 51 pressures and 5 sacks and a 14.2 pressure rate on 357 pass rush snaps, Bosa has provided some game-changing plays this season before, he obviously went out with an injury, leading the league with 5 forced fumbles, which is kind of an insane stat. If you're getting 5 forced fumbles and you're recovering all those, that's 5 takeaways, man, all by yourself, just because you can punch the ball out better than anyone else. That's a pretty crazy stat. He's set to turn 31 this summer. Bosa could be in the market for chasing a Super Bowl ring, kind of like how we thought Myles Garrett would be, but Myles Garrett wanted his bag and wanted to win nothing for the rest of his life. Bosa could be in the market for chasing that Super Bowl, though. I think honestly, at this point in his career, why doesn't he? Why else would he have gone to the Bills? I think the Lions have a great chance of that in 2026. I said this last year, obviously. I'm going to actually knock on wood because I tend to be jinxing things on this channel. I think if we needed a couple more things to go right for us this year. We had it, man. I think coaching things, obviously, but maybe that other pass rusher, because our pass rush for the beginning of the season was not great. Now, Sportrack projects him at a $13.7 million price tag. And that could be, on that had a 1-year deal when he hits the market. I think if we manage to spend the money on a guy dealing with an injury right now, he could be the perfect tag team for Hutch. I think it builds up. Hutch is that outside spin guy who can get inside. Bosa is just that speedy guy who can get right around the edge. I think Hutch gets his sacks. Bosa gets his forced fumbles. Oh my God, defense would be so fun to watch, guys. You guys let me know what you think, but just thinking about it gets me excited for next year. But again, it is one of those ones where it seems a little more unlikely. You guys can let me know what you think. And finally, just a couple of comments from you guys. Starting off with 21 Nicks on Me 6 says, Graham sounds like he still wants to play. If he's under contract, then I'm thinking we'll probably rework a couple of things. He's 2 years older than Decker and will be 34 in the next season. I think he's capable, but more of a backup. They obviously need to get offensive line help, and we'll probably draft one or two more guys. I think Graham is very useful in training them and as a rotational piece. Decker sounds like he's just in way too much pain. He would need a year off. Retirement is also probably a better option for him. I think it is time for Decker, unfortunately. I think he probably could go a few more years if that shoulder hadn't been hurting him since college, but it probably is time for him. I honestly don't hate what you're saying about Graham Glasgow here. Maybe we don't up and retire him. Maybe we just move him to the guard piece as a rotational guy with Tate Ratledge kind of coming into his own. Maybe we go, like you said, I have a feeling we are going to use some of our higher draft picks on a tackle, on possibly a center or maybe another guard. I don't know what we're going to do. I just know we are grabbing more O-line guys. So it would be cool to have a guy like Graham Glasgow kind of the vet trading some of the rookies. I do agree with you there, and I never thought about that. So thank you for your comment, 21 Nick 76. And Victor David 1165 says McDaniels would be a poor choice for the Lions OC. Some of you guys asked him why. I don't know. I feel like you could look either way. I think obviously McDaniels has had his downs recently, and obviously the memes that are made about him, like it's like, do we want to bring all that nonsense and unseriousness to Detroit? I get what you're saying there. I just think the way it is right now, he'd be a huge step up from John Morton, and the way he likes to operate his offense with the running game, it just seems like our best possible fit right now. It's like we could go without him, but then it's like, who's our OC gonna be? I don't know. I'd rather have him than Dan Campbell or Johnny Morton calling plays next year, but that's just what I think now, and it's purely speculation. You guys can let me know. Thank you both so much for your comments. With that being said, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point in the video, tell me what your opinions on those two pass rushers are, and if there's anyone you would want differently, and tell me what price point you think we could get them at. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss a single video here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.